Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Trade, Commerce, and Tourism Committee. It's Wednesday, April 7th, 2010. I'm Councilwoman Janice Hahn. I'm chair of this wonderful committee, and I'm joined by... Oh, I'm not joined by anybody. But I feel I'm going to respect those of you who came all the way down here from far away to participate in this committee meeting. So let's begin the meeting. I was thinking we would take 1 through 5 together. They're all foreign trade zone items.
Yes, items 1 through 5 include, I believe it's 3 developer agreements and 2 operating agreements for foreign trade zone activities at various sites near the port, and within most of them are local. Yes, they're all either in Carson or Riverside County or in Wilmington, and many of them have our replacement agreements, so the developers or operators are well known to the port, and they're all for they're new contracts, either for 15 years total or 20 years.
Very good.
Good morning, Councilwoman. I'm Molly Campbell. I'm with the Port of Los Angeles, and joining me also is Eric Karras, who is in our marketing section. And I think that the CLA has summarized the agreement very well. I'm not quite sure what else I could add. They're pretty straightforward. As she mentioned, the general purpose agreements are those where they actually are the operators, and we have 2 of those, items 1 and 5. And they pay us a $5,000 a year annual fee. And then we have 3 developer agreements. Those are items 2, 3, and 4, and those are where we provide incentives, but we don't collect a fee annually. So when the operator actually comes online, then the fee gets collected.
I see. Now, on these warehouse distribution centers, are they all participating in our Peer Pass program? Are they? I was just reading an update on how successful that has been since we started that. I'm just wondering, because it's all about the warehouse and distribution centers.
That's absolutely correct. So they're both participating in the support of Peer Pass, operating the trucks off-peak, so as to support the traffic patterns and not impact traffic during the day. And they also are going to confine themselves to the routes designated within Wilmington, so that we're on the designated truck routes.
Do you get reports in terms of their weeknight and weekend patterns?
I'm not sure.
Is that part
No,
of?
actually, we don't get reports specifically on the type of activity that they're doing daytime versus nighttime, but it's all done in good faith. Let's put it that way, and we do know, generally speaking, from a percentage point of view, what is moving during the nighttime.
But we know that they're ready and willing to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yes.
That's a condition of the...
that's a condition. Okay, very good.
Yep.
Yeah, I was pleased to see that since we've started that program, 15 million trucks have been taken off our highways and roads during peak hours. I think that's very significant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. I have no further questions. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none, I will obviously just make a, what do I do when I'm by myself? I just, communication from the chair that we approve these. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 6 is the harbor as well, so if you,
Yes, under item 6, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for approval amendments to agreements with 3 firms, ICF Jones & Stokes, Camp Dresser McKee, and Environmental Science Associates, all to provide environmental analysis services. Each contract is to be amended to extend the contracts by 1 year, expiring at the end of February 2011. This would allow each of them to complete work under their existing contracts and allow the department to award new contracts under a RFP process. CAO did not prepare a report because the mayor and the committee chair waived consideration of the CAO's review.
I did? Oh, okay. Molly,
Yes,
so these are contracts that expired February 28th,
correct.
and the consultants will not be paid for work done since their contracts, until their contracts are extended, is that?
Correct.
Is there a reason that these amendments, did not go before your board before January?
They did go to the board,
Oh,
but
did
then
they?
consistent with the
I guess I'm asking,
executive
why did
directive for.
why did they expire before you had an opportunity?
I think timing-wise,
Okay.
we just, we probably should have done it a little bit earlier.
Okay, so maybe it took 2 months to get to the council was the delay.
Yeah, the
Okay.
board report itself is actually dated January 14th, but it's still,
Oh. Okay.
cutting it close.
One of the things I was thinking about when I was so these are the consultants you hire to actually do work on EIRs.
Correct.
One of the things I was wondering, how are we doing a better job of honoring the recent MOU between the appellants that they want to have more information sharing as you go through the tough work of an EIR, sort of before it becomes the 600-page document?
I think there's been
are
more
these
conversations and dialogues going back and forth between us and the actual developers, whether it is APL or any of our contractors. What we've done is have more of a discussion back and forth so that they could have some input. And I think that's been a recent recognition that's come about because of some of the discussions, primarily
Right.
with the rail and other.
And when we contract with these types of consultants, are they aware of that commitment?
I think they're becoming aware, and we've made them aware going forward, so that there is that dialogue, so that there is no real surprises in the document, so there's
Right.
discussions back and forth.
How does that work, information sharing?
I'm not exactly sure the exact mechanics of all of it. I'm anticipating that what the consultants will do is to provide their analysis, their information to the port, and the port would then be in touch with, our customers to go through.
What's the majority of work right now? Is it past EIRs or ones we're working on, future ones? Where are we?
It's mainly the future ones coming
future
up.
ones. And how many future ones are coming up?
I don't know. I'd have to get back to you with that information in terms
Okay.
of the total numbers.
Okay. All right, yeah, I'd just like to know what exactly we're paying these folks for.
We'll respond back.
Okay. All right, those were my main things. And if you could just, again, make sure we pass along, as part of the approval of these contracts, just an awareness
Gotcha.
that what's important, obviously for this committee is this attempt at the information sharing as we go forward with the tough work in the EIR, so that, obviously I would like to prevent as many appeals and problems as we have. And I think that's one way that we agreed to work with those who are interested in these EIRs.
And I do think, Councilwoman, that message has come across
Okay.
to the port loud and clear, so I will reiterate it.
Reiterate that as
that's
part of the
your
approval of
comment
this
regarding
of this contract. Okay, thank you. Seeing no further comments from my colleagues, I will have a communication from the chair that we'll approve those contracts with my constant concern about the information sharing aspect. Okay, 7.
Under item 7, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for approval the first amendment to a contract between the Harbor and Dim Jim H&N for construction management services for construction of the Port Police Headquarters. The amendment would reflect a name change for Dim Jim to ACOM Services Incorporated, and it would extend the contract term from 3 years to 4 years, expiring on December 18th, 2011. Again, there is no CAO report because both the mayor and committee chair waived consideration of the CAO's review.
Okay, so they changed their name? Dim Jim?
Yes.
Oh, it's just such a part of our
vocabulary.
Our vocabulary, Dim Jim. I've been saying that as long as I can
I know.
remember. Okay, so just tell me, do you know what's the status of the?
The project?
Uh-huh.
The project is about 75% complete, and the primary purpose of extending this particular contract is just to make sure that once it's complete, that it kind of dovetails.
Okay, is it still supposed to be completed by
April of next year.
2011?
2011.
We're on track.
And we're on track.
On
I
budget,
confirmed that
on time?
yesterday. We're on track and on budget. Yes.
Good. A side note, what's our staffing level these days of our port police? Do Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know the exact number,
Okay.
so I'll get back to you
Okay.
in terms of what that is.
Okay.
Are you talking about just the sworn or the overall? Both.
The both.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to know
I'll send
kind of
you a
where
memorandum.
we're at. Has it increased, and what, you know?
I think, we haven't grown because one of the things that we've been looking at with our budget considerations over the last several years is kind of holding the line, making sure we have sufficient resources. And we may be moving around people, and the levels may have changed so that we make sure that we have adequate supervisory controls with some of the new officers coming in. But I'll get back to you
Right,
with
just
the
get back
exact
to me
number.
on kind of where we are number-wise. Okay. I have no problems with this. I think we should have been able to vote on their name change, but this is,
Changing our vocabulary.
yeah, I know. Okay, all right, I will approve that.
Thank you.
And
I kind of like running these meetings by myself. Got all these added comments from these guys. They always have something to say.
well,
Okay, item 8, the convention center.
item 8, the city attorney submits for council consideration for adoption a draft ordinance to allow the convention center department to use flexible demand-based pricing for the rental of space at the convention center. And again, this is for bookings within 2 years from a given date.
Morning.
Good morning. Well, this is great. I mean, this is one of those recommendations that came from you all in terms of how could we operate our convention center a little more like a business. And one of the first things you brought to me was the idea of flexible pricing, that you are given more authority and more flexibility in terms of bringing in, conventions and events, and you wanted the flexibility to price it, the way the market would allow. So we introduced that. As soon as you brought it to me, we made a motion and asked for this to happen, and here we are today. So do you want to talk to me a little bit about what this means and how it's going to work and how you project that this will actually have a positive impact on our business?
Well, I'm Terry Martin Brown, Assistant City Attorney. So I'll speak to just a little bit about what the ordinance basically says, and then I'll let Convention Center staff, the assistant general managers who are with us here today, go into the business aspect of
Okay.
things. Basically, the ordinance allows the Convention Center staff the flexibility, their management staff and marketing staff, the flexibility to adjust the basic or the standard rate, rental rate, either upwards 50% or downwards 50%, depending on certain criteria that are clearly stated in the ordinance. The first criteria would be, or condition, that if it's met, if they had experienced a cancellation
Right.
by a prospective licensee or a reduction in the space or amount of time
Right.
that they intended to rent the space. And that's something that, as the Convention Center staff explained to both me and to this committee previously, that happens occasionally and has a real business impact, negative business impact. Or if there is a center vacancy in excess of historical averages, and they have some data that they can pull together to show what typical rentals have been, or typical vacancies, or typical occupancy rates have been over previous years. A third criteria that's stated in the ordinance would be the projected ancillary revenue, and that would be the revenue from parking, food and beverage services, electrical, and other types of services that sometimes, according to Convention Center staff, can really exceed an expected rental rate. And the fourth criteria would be really applied in cases where the center is looking at adjusting that standard or basic rate upward 50% or within that 50%, and those would be unusually high or competing demands for the center space. And so that's kind of a situation we're hoping will occur at some point in the future. The staff will have to report quarterly to the mayor, the controller, and the CAO on the events where this flexible pricing policy is applied. And this ordinance will actually, or this part of the, this ordinance actually will, or the sections of this ordinance that pertain to the flexible pricing will sunset within 3 years of the passage of this ordinance, unless council takes action to extend these provisions.
And when can council take action to extend these provisions?
Well, I would imagine sometime shortly, well, really within any time period before they actually sunset.
Okay.
Within that 3-year period.
Okay. And we can extend them for,
However long
Okay.
You would find it reasonable at the time to do so.
okay. And why did we put the 3-year sunset?
I think there was some concern just to see how this operates, if it needs to be tweaked or adjusted
Okay.
any, and to get those quarterly reports and back from the convention center staff, and to really see in the real world how this policy is affecting, the bottom line business at the convention center.
Now, part of this is instructing the controller to conduct a financial and performance audit
Yes, I think that's a very important piece of it.
prior to the 3-year sunsetting.
And that's to give the council as much information as possible. We don't know what economic conditions might be at that time.
Right.
I think we've all learned that things
Right.
can change over
Right.
time and pretty rapidly. So.
But I think part of the spirit of this, and you all can talk of this, part of the spirit is let's give our management team, the trust and the confidence that they're going to figure that out. I mean, they're going to want to make the best use of this. They want the convention center to do well and succeed. So part of this is, in my opinion, kind of trusting our management, the convention center, to again act like a business. And if they see it changing, this is the whole point to me of the flexible pricing, is giving them that opportunity to know what's going on. They're on the ground level. They're in the trenches. They know the market. They know what's happening in the convention world. So, but
Exactly,
Yeah.
and to allow them, as council has
Right.
noted and pointed out in the past, and you yourself have noted this as well, to give the staff the flexibility to actually compete
Right.
with
Right.
the other convention centers
Right.
that we're vying for
Right.
the
Exactly.
business. with,
Exactly.
Anaheim, Las
Right.
Vegas, San
Right.
Francisco.
Right. Well, it was also, when we're talking about the potential of privatizing or bringing in another management company, part of what I wanted to say is, let's kind of give our staff the flexibility to compete with that perception that, a private company can run it better because they can run it with flexibility. They can make their own decisions. They don't have this, strange bureaucracy of the city to go through every time they want to make a change. So that's my feeling. But thank you, City Attorney, for working on this and turning this around fairly quickly. I appreciate that.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for all of your help as
I
well and
do.
guidance on this.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to?
Be happy to. Philip
Okay.
Hill, Assistant General Manager, Convention Center. With me is my associate AGM, Mary Jane Aquino, who's really the lead in this program.
Okay.
But we're excited about this. It really is about flexibility and being able to generate increasing revenues. We do have some months where literally we have no space. There is nothing left, like in February, for example, coming up. But we want more of those kind of months, and we do
Right.
have months where there are vacancies. So this is going to be a great thing, and you'll definitely see some strong results out of this.
Good. And over the years, have there been folks that have asked for some kind of a flexible pricing?
There are people that do ask that, yes. And they are able to experience that at other locations, but not Los Angeles. And that puts us at a competitive disadvantage.
Right.
So I think this is a great thing. I really appreciate your assistance on this.
Well, again, I feel like that was my role, was to kind of listen to you, and then from the legislative body, figure out how we can change our ordinance to allow for this.
So now what we're going to do is transition rapidly into now showing you the performance that will be generated as a result of this, and you'll see that very quickly. Our teams are already poised and been briefed and are waiting for your instruction to let us
good.
go, and they're going to move forward
Oh,
rapidly.
good. Do you want to say anything?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair.
Good
Mary
morning.
Jane Aquino. I'm the Acting Assistant General Manager and Chief Financial Officer. And first of all, I would once again reiterate my many thanks and appreciation to the team. representatives from City Attorney, from the Office of the City Administrative Officer, and the CLA, Chief Legislative Analyst, were in this committee. And we
Right.
did go through a very thorough review. It did take us some time to get to this point because we did want to make sure that at the very end of that process, it was all for the good of the city and the convention center. So we do appreciate also yourself for being one of the very first to really see what this tool would mean to the Los Angeles Convention Center. Part of what we have reiterated, or part of our conversation regarding the flexible demand pricing, is that we do, in cases where it has been implemented and adopted, there have been upticks in revenue of between 2 to 8%. So
Really?
we're hoping really to make those numbers happen and to be successful in this implementation.
And is this a good time to begin implementing this time of the year?
It definitely is.
It is
Any
vital.
time, I
Okay,
think,
good.
is a good time, but more so in these very trying times.
Okay, good, good. Well, we also have a letter from our city controller, Wendy Gruhl, who basically talks about the very first audit that she released as city controller. She looked at this and made this a recommendation that this would be a good idea. So we definitely have the support of our city controller, and I think you're going to have the full support of the city council. We want to make sure this works. We want to show you that, you know, we do have trust in you, and anything else, you know, that you can keep bringing to us so that we can begin tweaking our, you know, bureaucracy a bit so that allows you to really run that convention center well, particularly in these difficult times.
Thank you.
We want to do that. And if this doesn't work the way you think it should work,
We'll modify it and come back
let's
to you.
modify it and come back. And I think we'll have the support of the city attorney to do that. Again, we can be flexible. I mean, we're a huge city, but that doesn't mean that we can't turn and tweak and be flexible when we need to be. And I think this shows you that.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you
let's
very much.
get this to the full city council as quickly as possible, next Tuesday perhaps?
Madam Chair, I will be in council next Tuesday.
Good, and then you're ready to go. We're going to release you to do great things.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much.
And again, thank you to the city attorney for getting this back to us in a timely manner.
You're very welcome.
I'll tell your boss that you did a good job
Thank you.
when I see him down in Pedro. Is that it?
No
public
comment cards.
Oh, no
Zero.
comment. 0. Okay, so that's the last item. Look at that. Okay, this meeting is adjourned.